If you were to ask me what the first home video release of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was 5 years ago, I would have answered the Family Home Entertainment VHS from 1989. However, one day when I was looking at the films' article on Christmas Specials Wiki, the availability section was updated, which included a VHS release of a special that predates the F.H.E. release by a full year. This was a VHS release of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer released by Transatlantic Video in 1988. How did I not know this existed? I tried to find where this image of the cover came from, which led me to a Tumblr page called the VCR from F.H.E., which showcases VHS releases from the public domain. More on that later. The image of the cover came from one of their posts, which included more photos of the VHS itself, alongside another Rankin & Bass special they released, The Little Drummer Boy. I tried searching online to see if there were any other copies exist, or ripped. Unfortunately, this tape must have had an extremely rare release, as I've never seen any other copy resurface at the time I discovered its existence. That was 3 years ago at this point, so the chances of finding another copy showing up seemed unlikely. Then one day, on December 7th, 2023, a day after the film's 59th anniversary, believe it or not, my friend Ian Sweeney on Instagram messaged me a new photo of the tape. What? Where did this come from? Then he showed me a link to an eBay listing, the origin of this photo. It was a lot of 2 VHS tapes. One of them was a Paramount release of A Charlie Brown Christmas, but the other one was more desirable. The original transatlantic VHS of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Initially, I wasn't planning on buying it. This was around the time I was trying to save up money to buy Ashley Harrison's autograph on Streamly, but then when I tried to buy it, I realized that Streamly does not accept PayPal, so I decided to buy the lot after all. So now the tapes are being shipped, so we'll just have to wait until they get here, but in the meantime, let's talk about Transatlantic themselves and their VHS tapes. Transatlantic Video is a very obscure company nowadays. However, from the information I gathered, they were a home video distributor that was founded in 1985. They specialized mostly in releasing VHS tapes of content that have since been in the public domain, mainly cartoons. A good majority of cartoons from the 20th century have fallen under public domain. This includes cartoons from iconic series such as Woody Woodpecker, Betty Boop, Casper the Ghost, Popeye, Superman, and especially the Looney Tunes. Considering how there's almost 1,000 classic Looney Tunes cartoons, and the fact that a good majority of them are in the public domain, most of their cartoon VHSs are bound to include at least one of them, regardless of whether or not the tape is Looney Tunes specific. Also, everyone has been talking about how Mickey Mouse and his first cartoon, Steamboat Willie, will enter public domain on January 1st, 2024. However, what a lot of people don't know is that there's actually Mickey content that's already in the public domain. Otherwise, Transatlantic wouldn't have released this tape. This tape includes a few cartoons, but only one of them is a true Mickey cartoon. Until Steamboat Willie became public domain, 1933's The Mad Doctor is currently the only Mickey Mouse cartoon to be in public domain. I think it has something to do with the cartoon being banned in both Britain and Germany, and the fact that Disney never bothered to renew the cartoon's copyright as a result. The Mad Doctor is one of my favorite classic Mickey Mouse cartoons, so it's cool that it's on this tape. There's also a music video of the series' main theme song, Minnie's Yoo-Hoo. It's not a Mickey Mouse cartoon, but it is a piece of Mickey Mouse content that's also fallen under public domain, and it's also on this tape. However, besides these and the Donald Duck wartime short, The Spirit of 43, these are currently the only pieces of content from the Mickey Mouse and Friends franchise to be in public domain, which is why Transatlantic's tape has 2 extra cartoons that aren't Mickey Mouse related, being Tex Avery's Doggone Tired and Max Fleischer's The Cobweb Hotel. I honestly would love to get this tape someday because you never see Mickey Mouse on public domain releases these days, probably because of how little there is. There are other public domain Mickey Mouse tapes that other companies released around the same time, such as this one released by Good Times Entertainment under the Kids Classics label. This one only includes the Minnie's Yoo-Hoo music video, but it does include one of Disney's Alice cartoons, and even 2 Ub Iwerks cartoons. Good Times also released another Mickey Mouse VHS for their Kids Classics label, which includes the Mad Doctor, with the other 3 being Ub Iwerks cartoons. Okay, I think I've rambled enough about Mickey Mouse content from the public domain. What happened to Transatlantic Video? Well, in the early 90s, they changed their name to Diamond Entertainment Corporation. There they continued to release content on VHS and later DVD. After the company was purchased by RX for Africa Inc. in 2007, Diamond stopped distributing films, but despite this, they're still around today, albeit legally. So now that you're somewhat educated on who Transatlantic Video are, let's see if that Rudolph VHS has arrived yet. I'll cut a bit of this. Alright, there we go. Alright, the moment of truth. The very first on-camera appearance of this thing. Alright, let's I love how they wrapped. I'd say the seller, was like really kind, because they thanked me for buying this, but they also wrapped it in like some red paper, which I think is very fitting for the holiday season. All right, there's nothing else. Put this away. Let me clear this off now. All right, so far so good. So yeah, so this is a Charlie Brown Christmas. Is like a Paramount release of it. I already have this. My grandma and grandpa have a copy of this. They still have it, but I definitely think this one is kind of in better condition, or at least in terms of like the the sleeve is. But yeah, I don't have a Charlie Brown Christmas on DVD or Blu-ray. Maybe I might someday, but yeah, it's just Charlie Brown Christmas. It's a very common tape, everything. But this is what I'm really after: the 1988 Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer VHS from Transatlantic Video, and they also advertise other Christmas videos that they released, including the Little Drummer Boy. And it says made on high quality tape. But yeah, like there's no mention. Around the time this VHS came out, Broadway Video was the company that owned Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and some of the other pre-1974 Rankin and Bass stuff. And yeah, like there's no mention of like Broadway Video or Rankin and Bass anywhere. So I am wondering. So I'm not 100% sure whether or not that this is actually like licensed, because I mean like when Good Times released the Kids Classics series of VHS tapes, like they weren't just all like public domain like those Mickey Mouse ones, that I talked about, but they also like licensed content from like Hanna-Barbera and even the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. I actually remember owning at least one Mario Super Show tape. But yeah, so the cover actually looks pretty nice. At least in my opinion. I mean, the green background is very basic, but the artwork, I mean, they really kind of did a pretty good job, looking like the characters from the special, or at least like mainly Santa. I mean, Rudolph, he looks good, but he definitely looks a little more cartoony than he does in the special. But I mean, Santa looks pretty good. Here's what the side looks like. Let's see what the actual tape looks like. Well, what do you know? There is nothing on it. No print date or anything. Is this even Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? Yeah. Well, I guess maybe I'll get my pizza out and maybe watch the special again for the billionth time and see what this tape has to offer. If I have to predict, I think that this version of the tape is probably the 1965 print with Fame and Fortune and the Cut Peppermint Mine scene. At least I'm pretty sure that this is probably like what they're using. But yeah, let's pop in the tape and see what it has to offer. All right, the moment of truth. Hopefully this isn't some sort of like Rickroll or something. Let me move the cable box out of the way. All right, let's see what it looks like. I don't know if it's doing anything. grab the remote just to see if I could hit play. Ooh, there we go. Here, let me rewind the tape a bit. Oh, okay. So yeah, so it is the actual tape. I don't think this was licensed by Rankin and Bass or Broadway Video or anything. Because usually with those public domain. Hey, Tom. Anyways, as I was saying, because I think with these public domain tapes, they usually don't have like a FBI warning or something, and they say like adjust tracking on your VCR for a clear picture or something. So I don't think this was officially licensed or anything because I think there's like a gray area. I think Rudolph is kind of a gray area because technically it is public domain because one of the Roman numeral year dates on the opening credits was like misspelled. So instead of saying instead of translating it as 1964, it translated as like 1164 or something. And because of this, the special is technically in the public domain, but not necessarily. It's sort of like a Mad Doctor situation where even though that cartoon is in public domain, Mickey Mouse is still trademarked, and everything. His name and likeness is still trademarked. With Rudolph, I guess it's technically considered public domain, but the character is still copyrighted, and all the other characters, from Romeo Moeller, like Hermie, Clarice, Yukon, Bumble, they're all still copyrighted by Universal and the Rudolph Company. But yeah, I'll look over this particular tape in particular, and just to see, what's unique about this. And so I'll go back into scripted form in about right now. I watched the entire tape while I was transferring it onto a DVD-R disc, and well, my prediction was 100% right. This is the 1965 print with all its weird changes and cut content. In the video where I talked about all the specials as broadcast changes, I acknowledged a YouTube upload of Rudolph that came from a public domain tape. The reason I mention this is because both this tape and the YouTube upload seem to be using the same 1965 master from before 1968. For better context, after Videocraft International changed its name to Rankin & Bass Productions, the Rankin & Bass Presents text was added at the beginning of the film to reflect the company's name change. Despite this, the 1988 tape actually shows a lot more color than that particular YouTube upload. I mean, they did advertise that it's made on high quality tape, so I guess they weren't completely wrong. Even though it does show a lot more color, the picture quality does look a little red, but it's probably more the fault of the master itself and not the actual tape. This was 10 years before the special's first restoration, so I was expecting some miscoloring as well as a ton of scratches and dirt. But for an unlicensed public domain tape, this is actually not too bad. There were some things that I noticed. The beginning with the snowflakes where the Rankin & Bass Presents text usually is, it's a lot more brown compared to how it's supposed to be. Also, the transition between Sam and the opening credits starts off a little brown for a few seconds. Pretty much exactly like it did on the VHS and DVDs from the late 90s and early 2000s. In the scene where Donner is forcing Rudolph to wear the fake nose cap, I heard some talking that's not supposed to be in the special.
Alright, son, try it on.
I don't wanna. Daddy, I don't like it.
You'll like it and wear it.
Oh, but Daddy.
I'm not sure if this was a mistake on Transatlantic's part or if the previous owner had something taped over. Also, one thing I never brought up in the video where I talked about all the home video releases is that even on all official home media releases of the special, the part where Yukon Cornelius says we'll all be rich, there is a half-second pause from when he says rich. The 1988 tape doesn't have that issue. Here's a comparison for you to hear.
You're going to stay with me, and we'll all be rich. You're going to stay with me, and we'll all be rich.
There's not really much to say about this particular release besides the fact that it's extremely rare. While yes, the 1964 Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is technically public domain, the transatlantic release is still unauthorized because not only is Rudolph still copyrighted at the moment, but he's also trademarked as well. Not only that, but all the songs from the special are still copyrighted as well. I speculated that Transatlantic distributed Rudolph by accident without realizing that a majority of the special was still copyrighted. And when they did, they ceased production on the tapes, making its run very limited. This could be why the tape is so rare. They probably didn't make as many of these since they were technically still violating copyright law. There's also the possibility that they could have been pulled from stores after they realized. I'll admit, I didn't see myself ever getting this tape because of how next to impossible finding a copy was, but I'm pretty lucky to even seen the tape, let alone own it. Let me know in the comments if you ever had this tape before or seen it in the past. I guess that'll be all for this video. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you are subscribed, make sure to ring the notification bell so you won't miss out on any videos that I produce. I'll see you real soon. Same VHS time, same VHS channel.